Have you ever watched someone lose everything they stole from you? My best friend Paul had been slowly stealing my life for 2 years. It started small. He'd repeat my jokes at parties and get all the laughs. Then he began telling my stories as his own experiences. That camping trip where I got lost for 6 hours, suddenly it was Paul's adventure. The time I talked my way out of a speeding ticket with a joke about my grandmother, now it was Paul's quick thinking. But the worst part? He stole my girlfriend Ava. They'd been hanging out as friends while I worked double shifts at the warehouse, saving every penny for an engagement ring. Paul had a trust fund and plenty of free time. He'd comfort Ava when I was too exhausted to go out, always ready with my own stories about our relationship that he'd retell as his own memories. Remember when we talked about traveling to Japan? He'd say to her, referencing a conversation Ava and I had shared with him months earlier. I started noticing Ava pulling away. She'd mentioned conversations I didn't remember having, places we had talked about going that I'd never suggested. It was like she was dating a version of me that Paul had constructed. Last month I walked into our usual bar and saw them holding hands in our booth. Ava's face went white, but Paul just smirked like he'd won something. Sorry man, it just happened, he said, not looking sorry at all. We have this deep connection, you know? We understand each other. I knew that connection. It was built on everything he'd stolen from me over the years. Ava moved in with him the next week. Paul posted photos of them everywhere, using captions that were literally things I'd texted her before. Life's better with you in it, my words, under his photo. Screenshots of him copying my social media posts word for word, just hours after mine went live. Photos from parties where he was wearing shirts I'd bought. I recognized them because I'd specifically chosen unique vintage pieces. Even voice memos I'd sent myself to remember jokes, only to hear Paul tell them verbatim later. I had recordings from parties where he'd tell my childhood stories with perfect detail, down to my sister's middle name and my dog's weird habit of sleeping in the bathtub. 3 months later, Ava called me at 2 a.m., sobbing. I need to ask you something, she said through tears. Did you ever tell Paul about the time you got food poisoning at your cousin's wedding? My blood ran cold. No, Ava, that was something I only told you. He's been telling me it happened to him, and last week I found your old Instagram account. Her voice broke completely. Every story he's told me, every joke, even the way he says, good morning, it's all you. She'd found my social media from college and realized Paul had been copying my entire personality. My speech patterns, my interests, even my political opinions had shifted to match his over the past year. He even proposed last night, she whispered, with the exact same speech you practiced in front of me 6 months ago, word for word. I recorded you rehearsing it, remember? The proposal speech I'd spent weeks writing, practicing in the mirror, timing the pauses. The one where I talked about how love isn't just finding someone you can live with, but finding someone you can't imagine living without. Turns out when you build an entire relationship on stolen material, there's nothing authentic underneath. Ava realized she'd fallen in love with my personality wearing Paul's face. She left him that night, taking nothing but her clothes. Paul called me 47 times over the next week, leaving increasingly desperate voicemails. She's confused, he said in one. She doesn't understand what we have. But Ava wasn't confused anymore. She'd seen the real Paul, someone so empty inside he needed to steal another person's entire identity to feel interesting. Word spread fast. Our friend group saw all the evidence Ava and I had compiled. Screenshots, photos, even audio recordings. Paul lost Ava, his friends, and his reputation in our social circle. It got worse. His boss at the marketing firm found out he'd been plagiarizing presentation ideas. Turns out he'd been stealing from coworkers too, not just me. He got fired within a week. His trust fund couldn't buy him a new personality. Last week, exactly 6 months after he'd smugly stolen my girlfriend, Paul texted me, "Can we work things out? I miss having you as a friend." I replied with a screenshot of his own words from that night at the bar. Sorry man, it just happened. Ava and I are taking things slow, rebuilding trust. But watching Paul lose everything he'd stolen from me, piece by piece, that was worth every sleepless night.